So, welcome. I'm Jeanette Mejias, as I stated before, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. We are hosting this workshop with our amazing partners from SEL4NJ. And momentarily, I'm going to turn it over to them, but we're really excited to have them here. Um, and I don't want to use acronyms, so SEL stands for Social Emotional Alliance for New Jersey. And they promote and support high quality social emotional learning, as we refer to SEL here in our state, offering that to schools and communities to foster student success and well being. We're so excited to have them partner with us because their mission is very aligned with our work. And the mission of the SEL4NJ is to continuously build a network of organizations and individuals in New Jersey that are committed to the importance of developing students' social emotional competencies and through our collaboration and promote a systemic and intentional integration of SEL. The New Jersey Family Engagement Hub offers technical assistance, universal three-tier system of support, which is universal, individual, and targeted assistance, where we provide that to all school districts, families, professionals, and those school districts that have joined and partnered with us. We are comprised of a very dynamic and passionate team, which you've met some of our team members this evening, and we're really excited in strengthening the family engagement work here in our state. That's a little bit about us. I will put information about our work in the chat so that you can peruse on our website and get to learn more about what the Hub offers to families and children across the state. And now I'm going to turn it over to our amazing partners, Erica and Liz, for their introductions and to kick off the learning session. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeanette. Liz actually just logged off, so I'll be representing for now. I'm going to actually share my screen because I have a nice PowerPoint for us here. So as Jeanette said, today's info session is our webinar is about social emotional learning and really providing you with some foundations and basics. So let's get right into it. So we know who's in this Zoom room. So I know where everyone is zooming in from. But if you are watching this webinar, a recording of it, I just want you to think of what words you think of when you hear the term social emotional learning. So what comes to your mind? And I'm going to continue on as you think of any words that pop into your head. So who am I? My name is Erica Brenton, and I've been an educator for over 20 years. I started my career as a New York City public school teacher, and I really saw the benefit of social emotional learning as a teacher for my classroom and my students, and honestly for myself. So I became an SEL specialist, and SEL again stands for social emotional learning. And I also joined the School Culture and Climate Initiative, where I am a consultant. I live in Montclair, New Jersey I wrote my two husbands. I do not have two husbands. I have one husband and two children. Sorry about that. My children are in middle and elementary school. So this is also very fresh for me as a parent. And in my spare time, which I don't have tons of, but I like to go on long walks and read and spend time with my family. Oh, thank you, Jeanette. Thank you for offering your thoughts on what you think of when you hear social emotional learning. I'll use the chat more now. Thank you. And actually, I should share that Jeanette said that social emotional learning makes her think of managing emotions, which is very, very much about what this is about. So our agenda for today is I'm going to give you a definition of SEL, social emotional learning. We're going to talk about some of the key settings where we find SEL. We'll talk about the benefits. We'll watch a video where we can see it in action. I will share with you some strategies that you could use with your child or with your children. We'll talk about some common scenarios of some, problematic behaviors that we see sometimes in children and how SEL can really support them. And then we'll do a closing. So the objectives that I have for today are to walk away with a better understanding of social emotional learning. I hope that you can know what it is, what it looks like, why it's important, and to take away at least 1 to 3 strategies that you can use with your children. So I want you to think about what is one thing that you are hoping to take away from this webinar. So I'll just give you a minute. What is one thing that you're hoping this webinar will provide for you?
And Kelly, we encourage you to utilize the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, that's also an option since it's such a small group.
I think Kelly wrote strategies. Oh, for preschool class. Okay, fantastic.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Kelly.
Jamie, I'm hoping to reinforce SEL as a practice and building healthy relationships. Wonderful. Well, these are all things that I hope to be able to provide for you today. So let's keep moving on. And thank you for your comments and thoughts. So I wanted to just set the foundation here. I really like this quote. It is easier to build strong children than repair broken adults. And that's a quote by Frederick Douglass. And I really like it because it helps us to understand the value of social emotional learning, which for me is very much about looking at the whole child and all different facets of the child, as opposed to just really looking at an academic performance model. So thinking about how we can support the whole child in their healthy development. So we'll come back to that quote, but just to set the foundation for us here. So now I'm going to provide you with a definition of what is social emotional learning. So social emotional learning is the process through which young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that help us manage our emotions and behaviors, have empathy and show care and concern for others, solve problems effectively, make responsible decisions, and maintain healthy relationships. We all need opportunities to learn and engage in environments where we feel safe, valued, and a sense of belonging. So this graphic here, this image is brought to us by CASTLE, which is the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning. They've been around for 27 years, and their mission is to help make sure that SEL, social emotional learning, is a part of every child's education. And so CASTLE identifies 5 areas of competence that together support communities, schools, and families to work together so that all young people have the experiences to achieve success in education, careers, and life. So we're going to take a look at these 5 competencies, and these are the 5 pieces of the pie here, the orange, yellow, and green little areas here: self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills. So let's get into what do these all mean. So self-awareness is our first competency, and self-awareness is how we think about ourselves and who we are. It includes understanding our culture, thoughts, feelings, and what we're capable of. Then we have self-management. So self-management is the ability to manage those emotions, thoughts, and actions in different situations so that we can achieve our goals. It includes coping with stress and anxiety, persevering through challenges, and taking action to create positive change. Next, we have social awareness. So social awareness is really how we understand others, how we learn to take different perspectives and empathize, even with people who are different than us. And our fourth competency is relationship skills. So this is how we connect with others and how we form lasting friendships and connections. It includes communicating clearly, solving problems together, managing conflict, and standing up for ourselves and others. And finally, we have responsible decision making. So this is really how we put everything together and make caring and constructive choices. This includes thinking critically, analyzing the impact of our actions on ourselves and others, and finding solutions that support our collective well-being. So those are the five competencies. And as you can see, we really want our children to learn all of these skills and have all of these skills, which is why it's really important to look at their environment and what environments they're in on a daily basis. So we can really understand what opportunities exist to teach and practice SEL. And so we have these four environments we're going to look into right now, which are the blue rings of this image: classrooms, schools, families and caregivers, and communities. And I'm just going to give a very short overview into how each one of these environments, or we call them the key settings, can support SEL development. So we have our first key setting, which is in the classroom. And maybe you've seen some of your children, um, bringing home some SEL work or really talking about it. And so students can actually be taught explicit SEL skills. So they can apply these in subjects like language arts and social studies, learning about different perspectives, or they can collaboratively problem solve in math and science. So the classroom is a very ideal setting to learn and practice SEL. And then we have schools. So beyond the classroom, SEL can be intentionally promoted through the way students are greeted in the morning, to the way discipline practices are carried out. And so crucial to this work is how adults themselves develop and model positive relationships in SEL. So we're going to actually get into some of that in a little bit, of how we as adults can really internalize and model these skills for our children. And so, of course, we're speaking to our families today. Families provide the earliest and ongoing learning and interactions for children. So it's really important that schools and community organizations form really strong partnerships with families, so that these SEL learning experiences can be very integrated for children. And finally, we have the fourth key setting, which is in communities. And these are really our community organizations. And so community partners can often provide safe and developmentally rich settings for learning and development. They have a deep understanding of community needs and are seen as major trusted partners by families and students. So all four of these environments really working together to create these opportunities for children is ideal. Actually, before I go into that, hold on one second. Okay. Okay, so thinking about some of the benefits of social emotional learning, why are we even talking about this? Well, there's a lot of research out there, and a lot of this research comes from the organization I spoke about earlier, which is Castle. There's been research done that shows that students with strong social emotional competence are twice as likely to earn a college degree, nearly 50% more likely to graduate from high school, and have a full-time job by the age of 25. Students are better, or children are better able to achieve academically, have better life outcomes, can handle stress better, work with others, manage conflict, and achieve goals. So many wonderful benefits. So I'm curious for you, the folks in the room here, what is the most important skill or maybe competency that you want your child to walk away with, maybe as they grow into adulthood or as they leave their school year? What are some of the things that feel most crucial to you? And if you're just watching a recording of this, really thinking about that.
I would personally say the ability to see the bright side of things. It's too easy to get stuck in a negative spiral.
That's a wonderful skill to learn. Thank you, KRE. And we have self-awareness and self-management. Yes, those are two very important skills. To work together and to share. Wonderful. So I'm excited that we're talking about these things, because in a little bit, we're actually going to get into each one of these competencies, and we're going to really talk about how we can foster them in our children as adults. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so what does it look like? I'm going to actually play a video. So if you will just bear with me while I get this text set up. But as we play this video, this is going to be social emotional learning in action. And it's going to be with the schools and with families. It's about 8 minutes long. It's long, but it's really, really worth it. And I want you to think about while you're watching it, what questions or thoughts do you have while watching this video? And we'll discuss after. So I'm going to exit my screen, pull this up. Okay.
As parents, we know that there is more to raising a child than teaching reading, writing, history, and math. Raising a child means that schools and parents must work together to create safe and supportive environments while helping children to understand themselves, understand others, and make responsible decisions.
It's important for children to see that they have role models that aren't always the ones that they expect to have.
You know that saying that parents are the first teachers. That's very true, because I think that as a school, there's only so much that we can do.
I think parents' involvement in school is huge, because I think it's really important when kids feel the partnership that their families have with the school. And so we work to have structures and systems in place that will help kids be able to do those things.
Social and emotional learning, or SEL, is how children and adults understand and manage their emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions.
When adults are modeling SEL for students, whether it's parents or teachers or staff members, they're really building relationships with one another, which ultimately impacts how they work with one another as adults.
I think it's really, really important for them to be self-aware. I think being able to identify their emotions and deal with them, it's sometimes really important to be able to stop and reflect.
We're intellectual, emotional creatures. To learn the skills necessary, one has to have both a healthy internal life and external life. And so being self-aware of that is really critical.
First of all, we have to learn how to manage our stress ourselves.
How to deal with stress. In today's society where everything just seems to go 90 miles an hour, you have to just take a time out yourself.
I mean, it's important to be shown to him that there's different ways to deal with stressful situations.
Teach him how to deal with emotions.
Like, did we give them the skills to be able to handle conflict or resolve conflict?
When kids are able to process their own feelings, acknowledge what's going on with others around them, not only for others, but for oneself, right? Forgiveness and what led to this? How might I do this differently?
They have to have a sense of empathy. They have to have respect for other people, other cultures.
I want him to learn how to interact with other kids, how to play, how to cooperate, how to do things together, also have fun.
I think that has been the best thing with my relationship with my daughter, that she's able to communicate well with others, speak her feelings.
That's important because the world around us is all about relationships. Our children need to be able to guide themselves through there so that they can achieve those things that they need to achieve and be able to communicate them effectively.
I'm always thinking about how are we potentially impacting students in a way that will make them think twice? Like, how are we helping them make good decisions?
He's starting to understand that why do one thing instead of another, and how it affects other people. Explaining to him his actions have influence on his quality of life.
I think our children need to be able to be confident enough to articulate what they're feeling and to be able to just showcase their strengths.
Those 5 competencies apply to being successful anywhere. That's the kind of employee I'd like to work with. That's the kind of student that I'd like to have in my classroom. That's the kind of person I'd like to study with after school.
And that helps build a positive climate and environment that sets the tone for learning.
Research shows that SEL can have a positive impact on school climate and promote a host of benefits for students, including better academic performance, improved attitudes about school, fewer negative behaviors like office referrals or drug and alcohol use, and reduced emotional stress.
Every child can reach their full potential and are provided the supports and the resources that they need to reach that potential. My hope would be that families are engaged and feel welcomed at the school and can get the resources that they need through the school.
In order for students to meet their full potential academically, I think that their social and emotional needs need to also be met.
Social emotional learning is something that people can learn and that we can help to teach that. My wish or my hope is that schools see themselves as places of support for kids and families and community.
We are their number one role model. Between modeling and direct engagement in their education and direct engagement with the school and the teachers and participating, the parent's the number one educator from day one.
Those strategies that mom and dad share with them are also the same strategies that schools have shared with them.
As students learn social and emotional skills, it's important that they have opportunities to practice and apply those skills in real life situations, both at school and at home.
One of the ways that parents can help children at home through the use of social emotional learning is to connect with the school.
Whether it is attending local school meetings, parent-teacher conference, emailing their teachers, I think it's just important in whatever way you feel you want to engage to do so.
Parents can help bring SEL into the home in many ways. Here are 5 examples to consider. For self-awareness, take time to talk about feelings with your child every day by sharing your own feelings and asking your child to name their feelings as well. For self-management, teach and model positive ways of managing stress, disappointment, and anger. For social awareness, use story time to develop social awareness by asking your child how they would feel if they were in a similar situation as the characters in the story. For relationship skills, develop your child's ability to resolve a conflict by asking questions about the situation instead of giving advice. For example, try asking, "What do you think your friend was feeling when that happened?" Or, "How can you work to make things right?" And finally, for responsible decision making, talk to your child about consequences by asking questions like, "What might happen if you choose not to wear your coat if it's cold outside?" Or, "How might your friend feel if you choose to cancel your plans to get together?"
Social emotional learning helps us because it brings us all together.
Social emotional learning is a journey we're all on until the day we die. We're all striving to be the best person we can be.
My hopes and dreams are that my students just are able to fulfill their full potential in life.
We need every child to be ready to take on whatever the world brings them. And social emotional learning and the strategies that teachers use to garner that will enable our children to get there. I just want them to be ready for the world and take it on and take it by storm.
For more information on social and emotional learning,
Okay, we will get to that at the very end. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so any questions or thoughts that you had while watching this video? Anything that's coming to mind? And if you're watching a recording of this, just thinking about, anything that's coming up for you as you watch this.
It's nice to see how much more people are realizing the importance of social emotional learning and how much it affects kids just in their everyday lives.
Yes, thank you.
A lot of the parents could see a lot of positive benefits. Like
Yes.
real
Benefits. Yes, the real life benefits. Thank you. In addition to the research. And Kelly shares it's important to teach communication. Absolutely. And we'll share some strategies around that in a moment. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing some ideas for how, and I use some of the ideas from the video for how you can really support your children at home. I just wanted to do a quick review. So we have self-awareness that really supports skills like identifying emotions and sense of self-confidence. We have self-management, which really promotes skills like self-discipline and goal setting. We have social awareness, which really helps with skills for respecting others and empathy. We have relationship skills, which supports communication, working cooperatively, and resolving conflicts. And then we have responsible decision making, which helps children with identifying problems, analyzing situations, and solving problems. So, just curious, and you can either think about this to yourself or you can put it in the chat. What competency do you feel strongest in? What do you feel like you feel strongest in for yourself? Maybe you feel strongest in supporting others. Thank you, Jamie. Self awareness. I think I might also be a self awareness. I feel strongest in self awareness as well, and probably need a little bit of help in all the areas. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Okay, are you supporting others? So, really about relationship skills, actually, kind of all of them, social awareness, and helping others with some of these competencies. Okay. So the most important thing that I want to stress is that the most important person in any child's emotional development is the adults that work with them. So the most important thing is that we actually, as adults, take care of ourselves and we think about how our social emotional lives are developing. And so the more we're able to really think about ourselves, the more that we'll be able to support our children. So the most important person in any child's emotional development is the adults that work with them and you as parents. And so let's talk about some best practices so for ways that we can support our children. And these come directly from the video. So for self-awareness, they talked about taking time to talk about your feelings every day by showing your feelings and asking your child to name theirs. So that's not always easy. There's lots of wonderful tools out there that can support you with that. There's something called the mood meter. I'm actually I was going to enter into the chat, but hold on. And the mood meter is something that can help you to label and identify emotions. It's an app that you can download on your phone or you can look it up on the computer. And it's a wonderful tool to support you and your children. For self management, teaching and modeling positive ways of managing stress, disappointment, and anger. I personally find that this is an area that I always need the most support in. And whatever I do really shows my children how they can, take on stress and other challenging feelings. Um, and so then we come to relationship skills. So helping a child to resolve conflict by asking questions rather than giving advice. So how do you think you would feel if, or what do you think would happen if? And really letting them think about some of the consequences or some of the benefits of some of their actions. For social awareness, really using story time or, for older children, pop cultures or movies. How would you feel if you were in a similar situation as the characters in the story or as the, characters in the movie? So using, media to really support their development of social awareness. And then finally, responsible decision making. So, talking to your child about consequences. So, for younger children, that might look like something what might happen if you don't wear your coat and it's cold out. For older children, and I probably just said this to my son yesterday, what will happen if you don't turn in the assignment? Right. Just what are some of the consequences of our actions? So, these are some of the best practices that we can try and what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some scenarios, which are, I think, common scenarios, both I think as a parent and also as an educator who works with children. And what I want you to think about is what would you do in this situation if this was your child or this was a child that you were supporting as an educator? Maybe what competency would you consider like looking at, or what strategy might you use? And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to provide some examples and ideas. So here's scenario number one. We have four scenarios. So your child has been in a slump recently. You're unsure why. Maybe you have some idea, but you're not exactly, aware of the root of it, and is taking their emotions out on their sibling. So, what might you do, or what competency might you look at to support them with kind of getting maybe out of their slump or maybe not taking out their emotions so much on their sibling. I'll give you a minute to think. Okay, so I'm going to now, and please continue to keep thinking about what you might do, or maybe you've been in a situation like this before and you've kind of relied on something. But I'm going to share some ideas for you, some ideas of the competencies you can look at, and some strategies you can try. So, the first strategy you can try is just using a self awareness strategy. So, you can use something called an emotion check in. And this is an example of the mood meter I was talking about before. This is a younger version. But really asking your child to just ask how they're feeling. And you can even use prompts such as, I've noticed you seem down lately. Can you help me understand what's going on with you? You can use one of these emotion charts or feeling wheels to give them language for their emotions. And again, these are wonderful to use with both younger children and older children. And I even use it as an adult sometimes. I check in on my mood meter to really get a sense of like exactly what I'm feeling. So I highly encourage it, even for adults. You can try some self-management strategies. So having calming tools and techniques and introducing things like deep breathing, stretching, listening to music, taking a break, or even something that really helps you when you're, feeling in a slump. So something that's really specific to you and bringing that kind of learning to your child. And then we have relationship strategies. So thinking about, how they can better get along with their siblings. So asking questions like, how do you think your sibling felt when that happened? Or what would you want to do? What would you do if the roles were reversed? So supporting that, I guess, the repair of that relationship. All right, let's go into scenario number 2 here. So scenario number 2, recently your child, um, thanks, Carrie. My first thought is to give them a break from the something to calm down and recalibrate. Yep, that self-management technique, and especially for the younger ones, really like giving them that external support is super, super helpful. Thank you for sharing. We have scenario number 2. So recently your child has been coming home with poor grades. After reaching out to the teacher or teachers, if they're a little bit older, you've discovered they haven't been completing their work both in and out of school. So thinking about what competency may we look at here and really like what strategy could we use? And there might be multiple strategies here. Um, Thinking about that for a minute, and then I'll go into some of my ideas for some strategies that you could try. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share some ideas here. All right. So, um, yes, that would definitely require a check-in with the child. There's a lot of layers here, right? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. So self-awareness strategies. So asking curious questions that are open-ended, like how have things been feeling at school recently? What's going on in your mind when you do work? So really trying to get to the root of like what's happening and having your child to think about, what are some of the triggers that are happening for them. And then we have some self-management strategies. So what habits could we support this child in developing, or routines, so we could help them break down their work, like coming up with some plan if it's feeling too complicated, or if it's feeling too large, helping them to break it down into manageable steps. Visual schedules or checklists. And Kelly, this might be something that you definitely do in the preschool. Like those visuals are so important. So if, checking off, like I started my work, I did the first part, I checked in with an adult, I finished it up, something like that. And really supporting with any kind of homework routine that would be helpful. So giving them those external supports. And then finally, we have responsible decision making. So again, having that consequence reflection. So maybe, and a natural consequence is essentially just letting a child kind of feel the consequences of their own actions, like almost like feeling the failure. So allowing them to, to miss an assignment, to get a bad grade, and then having, that conversation about what happened and, how does this feel and how can we make it better? Setting goals together is a wonderful example. So, let's try to get 5 assignments in this week. If we get 5 assignments in, we could celebrate with a pizza party, or, let's try to do 3 out of 5 problems today. So those goal setting supports are helpful. And then just collaborative problem solving. So bringing the child into the conversation, what might be helpful? What could we do together? And really hearing their voice. And so Kelly shared, we use visual schedules and visual charts for emotions. That's wonderful. Kelly, I don't know if you have any examples of things you use that you think would be helpful, but please feel free to put that into the chat box. Any kind of tools would be wonderful. Okay, and then we have scenario number 3. So at the dinner table one night, your child is speaking poorly about another child, making fun of them, pointing out things they don't like about them. So, it happens. It's the best that we could do to build those positive relationships and build those positive, behaviors. Sometimes kids just, fall to these kinds of, um, more negative kind of behaviors or more concerning kind of behaviors. And that's okay. We just need to figure out ways to support them. So thinking about what competency might this fall under and what some strategies might be to support your child and maybe this other child too. So we'll just take like a minute to think about it. All right. So I'm going to give you some of my thoughts. So this really falls under the category of social awareness. And so there's a few things that we could do here. The first thing is we can just pause and reflect, right? Like, let's just stop for a minute. Like, how would that child feel if they heard what you just said? Yes, preschoolers don't always filter what they're feeling in the moment. Absolutely. So like just pausing and really kind of taking it back. Perspective taking prompts, what might be going on in their life that we don't know about. Have you ever felt judged or left out? How did that feel? So really building that empathy. Again, the modeling that we can do. So modeling compassion and curiosity. So like instead of focusing on things we don't like about others, but something we could try to understand. Using storytelling or books with a moral lesson. So going back to that, our curriculum, how can we use, or sorry, I was just talking to Kelly, who's a teacher, but this is for parents as well. So really thinking about like books or stories or movies that have these lessons that we can really, kind of use as lessons for our children. And then I love this one, this kindness challenge. So like, could you have a kindness challenge for a month? Like September is kindness challenge month. And we know once a week, we're going to do something kind for somebody else. And I'm going to do it too. And at the end of the month, we're going to kind of have like a family celebration around it. Okay. Mixed results. Okay. Carrie, I hear what you're saying. Bully the bully to teach them. Yeah. Mixed results for sure. No, it's really helpful to know that. Okay, so finally, scenario number 4, your child comes home every day after school with a new story about an argument they had with the same friend. Um, so thinking about what competency this might be and maybe some strategies that we could use to support this child. Okay. So I'll give you some ideas for some solutions that we could try. So we could use, a few different competencies. Oh, Jeanette said responsible decision making. Absolutely. Um, so I'll get to that in a second, but we can start with relationship skill strategies. So, really encouraging a child to hear another perspective. So, what do you think your friend was trying to say or show? Even using role playing. And I imagine, for those preschoolers, pre-Kers, like doing role plays and really modeling how to pause and listen and respond calmly is so super helpful when a child can see an adult modeling those strategies to work out a problem. Self-awareness strategies are really helpful here. So like helping a child to really understand their patterns. So like what usually happens before an argument starts, or are there certain things that always upset you? So helping them to build awareness of triggers and recurring dynamics. And this really helps, older children and younger children. And it's really like a very positive kind of way to approach the situation. And responsible decision making, as the movie sorry, the video pointed out, like, almost asking some open-ended questions and really getting them to think about, what were some of the consequences. So what do you think will happen if you respond the same way tomorrow? What could you try differently that might lead to a better outcome? And really getting them to like internalize and think about what's happening here, and how can they stop the pattern. Yes, Carrie, exactly. So taking a moment to reflect and notice any negative patterns. So again, just stopping, really like thinking about the action and then thinking about, how they could come up with a better solution. Okay. So now that we worked through some of the common scenarios that we see with our children and, as parents and as educators, um, and some of the strategies that we can try. One of the things that the video had pointed to and some of the school, based professionals had talked about is just the importance of getting involved. So, what is one way that you think that you can get involved in your child's social emotional development? So this could be either through, your own work with them, or it could be, something involving the school. I'd love to know what you're thinking about in terms of like what your approach will be now that you've heard all of this information. Okay, so Jamie says modeling, absolutely. Just like the most important thing we could do is understanding our own ways of promoting these competencies, and either how we're serving children or maybe not serving children, but not being too hard on ourselves, of course. Being invested in how the child is feeling and experiencing the world. Absolutely. Like we have to be motivated to really want to know how children are feeling, right? To do this work and know the value of their emotional lives. So having investment in that is so crucial. Um, yes, the modeling. Kelly also agrees with the modeling. Yes. And I'm actually so glad that everyone is saying that, because I think if there's one thing that I could, impart, it is that it is our own actions. Um, and I also really want to express the importance of, those partnerships between schools, between parents, between community organizations, that those can really be the most valuable partnerships that we have. And asking questions, right? What, if you're a parent and you want to know about the social emotional learning in your child's school, you can ask a teacher, or, go to a PTA meeting, or go to a school board meeting, or anything, that, your voice can be heard and valued. So I highly encourage that. Um, okay. And then, sorry, I just want to also point out what Jeanette had said in our chat box here. So using daily routines to practice gratitude, problem solving, or kindness. Really taking those everyday experiences and turning them into learning opportunities and focusing on the everyday moments. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so from here, I just wanted to give you a resource that is so valuable. Castle.org is a wonderful link and a wonderful hub of information. providing families and educators with, all sorts of social emotional learning support. And so you'll find, anything you're looking for there. You could use their search tool. They have videos, they have resources. But that is the end of this presentation for today. I hope that you found it valuable. It was wonderful to present to you, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.